So point of sale, back office, which back office for those that don't know is it tries to forecast what sales are going to be, and then from that sales forecast helps restaurants manage their food and labor costs, which are their two biggest variable expenses. Those two expenses alone can equal kind of 60% of the sales of the restaurant. So if you're not managing those expenses correctly, you're in big trouble. As well
I
as
imagine it's 100% a margin.
it's like all your margin is coming from that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
it's not overly exciting like to think about, but a couple of basis points here and there on food and labor equals lots and lots of big dollars. They're adult sized checks for sure.
So as you're talking through this, the thing that strikes me the most is I made the mistake the other day of I was talking to a semiconductor manufacturer, and I said that there must be 30 or 40 chips in my car now, and he said, oh, there's hundreds, and I went and looked it up, and there's probably more like 4,000 in your
Wow.
car, and I can only imagine it's the same in these restaurants. These are these quick service restaurants. You can give us the lay of the land, but some of them are corporate owned, some of them are mom and pop owned, some of them are kind of regionally owned. And so you get
Right.
I would imagine from a, tech standpoint, you're getting everybody from, phone lines with call in orders, like the old pizza shop, all the way up to, corporate owned stores that are running like, well-oiled machines. When you look at that kind of that landscape today, what's the biggest problem, kind of on average that these guys are facing?
So I think there's multiple answers to that question, actually. If you ask the restaurant operator themselves, right, like probably the biggest challenge that they have is, controlling those two costs I just talked to you about, hiring the right people, getting the restaurant staff to make sure people are there because, labor is always a challenge. And then battling on, inflation and cost of goods and things like that. So how do they continue to operate efficiently and turn a profit? If you ask, the people inside these restaurant organizations that are focused a little bit more on technology, what you typically hear is that their jobs are getting harder, not easier, right? So technology is usually thought of as making things easier, optimizing processes and things like that. What's actually happening inside the restaurant is there are lots of technology players that are now part of the ecosystem, and all those players have to play well together, right? And so that's a big challenge that most restaurant technologists at restaurants at scale struggle with. It's a challenge I struggled with. Prior to joining PAR Technology, I was a CIO for a couple of different hospitality companies. So in the restaurant space, I grew up on that side, being that operator, trying to find partners to help me. And now at PAR Technology, I try to make us the partner that I wanted when I was out there. But yeah, it's the food and labor is really, really tough. Driving customers into your restaurant and making sure that you can operate efficiently enough to get enough margin, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, without having to raise price too much on your customers, because there's only so much price you can take until you start to deflate transactions inside your restaurant. So it's a delicate balancing act there.
Yeah, and I like the angle you guys are taking and kind of this vertically integrated approach of having kind of the software and hardware stack kind of integrated together, that iPhone approach.
Yeah.
Um,
No, yeah, absolutely. I think to your point, one of the things that we have the hardware, we have the software. The other thing too that it's important for me to note is that each one of our kind of software units or modules, if you will, is still charged with being a best of breed capability. So I, for example, have responsibility for what's called PAR Ops inside of PAR Technology, which is the back office component and what we call our insights and delivery business. Um, the back office needs to be a competitive back office. It needs to be able to win in its own right against other pure play back office providers, and we need to continue to integrate with other point of sale systems that aren't necessarily PAR. Same thing goes for true for our loyalty solutions, point of sale solutions. We need to be best of breed and be able to integrate with the other ecosystems for the companies that want to do that. Now, it's incumbent upon us to talk to you about the value of starting to stack those things together like Legos, and how PAR, capabilities work better together. And so making sure that, hey, if you did actually get point of sale and loyalty and back office from us, there's some capabilities that we can unlock out there that would be a little more difficult to unlock if you chose to go best of breed, but we support both.
well, and so I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too early. But you guys won this award. You won the innovation award for this Coach AI, which kind of ties all this stuff together, kind of like you're
Yeah.
talking about.